Hello everyone! Today's video is going to be the DeviantArt Creates My OC challenge, so if you were expecting a speed paint today, I'm sorry to disappoint. I'll get more into the future of my channel later on in this video, but for now it's time to explain the challenge. Lots of other artists on YouTube have done the Instagram Creates My OC challenge. Due to the fact that I only have about 20 followers on my Instagram, I've decided that it'd make more sense to use my DeviantArt instead. Basically, the artist creates a series of polls giving options for a character creation, and the most highly voted option wins. I created about 15 polls and I let them collect results for about 10 hours. Before I get into showing you the results though, I want to mention that I'm allowing myself one veto. This is supposed to be a challenge, but I've decided that if a result shows up that I just really wasn't hoping for, then I'll let myself pass on it. But I only get one pass, so I have to use it wisely. That being said, we can get into the results. The first poll was simple, male or female, and it looks like female won, so let's go write that down. The next poll was short or tall, and it looks like tall one, so I'll write that down too. I think I'll just write all my results down the side here so we don't forget. Next was thick or thin, and you guys wanted a thick boy. Next was K-line or feline. Oh no. No, this is exactly what I wasn't hoping for. Don't get me wrong, I love cats, but I'm not the best at drawing them yet. I might have to use my veto on this one, but let's wait and see what the other results are before I do that. Next is good or bad, and it's tied. I was really hoping for a bad character. Maybe I'll just have Google flip a coin. Heads bad, tails good. Heads! Awesome. Okay, let's make a little devil head to represent that. Okay, age. 19 to 25. Maybe I'll go with 21. I've already got a character in mind, and 21 seems fitting for now. I might change it later, we'll see. Okay, then you voted for long hair. We can work with that. Here's my little head of hair to remind me. Now, straight or curly? You voted for curly, but the other options aren't far behind. I know that there's an option for in-between texture, but no one really wanted that. But I might just have to do it anyway since the results are so split. I'll just write curly / straight. We'll come back to that later. Next is dyed hair, but that's another pretty close tie. Maybe an ombre would be a good option so I can get a little bit of both. After that, you chose to give her piercings, no problem. Feminine clothes, okay. The character I had in mind might need a little bit of tweaking now, but I can do that. I generally like to put masculine clothes on female characters, but I'll figure something out. Between a short and a long tail, you chose long, can do. Next, oh wow, we have a perfect tie between warm and warm neutrals for the coat color poll. Interesting. Maybe I can do the warm neutrals for the coat and the warms for the dyed hair? That seems like a good idea. Next, you wanted one tiny tattoo. Alright, S tattoo here, S for small. And finally, the climate that they live in. You mainly chose cold, but in between is a close second. Maybe I can use both and say that she lives in a slightly cool climate, just because cool has a few more votes than in between does. Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay. Looks like all of our answers have been collected, so now we can get started. Oh wait, no we can't, my veto. Okay. I know you guys really seem to want a cat, but I really don't. I gotta do it. We're gonna do a dog instead. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry I disappointed you. I hope you can forgive me. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, we can start sketching. So, for this character, I had already thought of a few things that I wanted to include. Firstly, I wanted to make her a wolf. In my opinion, wolves make for good bad type characters, so that was just an easy option. I gave her some nose crinkles, pinned back ears, snarling teeth, just to make it clear that she's not a friendly character. For her eyes, I thought it would be sort of clever to give her sleek, winged makeup just to incorporate a tiny bit of that feline aspect that I vetoed, because I do feel a little bad about that. And then of course I gave her some nice cranky eyebrows on top of her cat eye makeup. For her body, I started out with quite a bent torso guideline because I really wanted her to be in a slouched over position, like she just doesn't care enough to stand up straight. And because you voted for a thicker character, I gave her wider hips than I would usually put on a guideline. I do go over this later and make her thicker, so don't worry that the guidelines look so skinny. I gave her nice long legs to make it clear that she's a tall character, and I made her thighs and calf guidelines thicker than I normally would just to remind myself that she needs to be heavier. I decided to put her in a floaty pose because those are always fun to do and they tend to make my poses look a little bit looser. After that, I decided that she should have her hand in a pocket, so I just drew her arm and left her hand out. I struggled for a moment with deciding where to put the other arm, but then my fiancé suggested that I have her hold a cigarette, and I loved the idea, so that's what I went with. I decided to have her resting her palm on her knee and holding her cigarette out with her fingers. After that, I went in to start bulking her up. Personally, I like to draw female characters with a pear body type, but since this character was supposed to be thick, I decided to make her a little bigger than I usually would up top. I also gave her some belly rolls, but they didn't really look right, so I ended up erasing them and redoing them later. I went and gave her thick thighs and calves, and added little fluffies here and there. When I finally went back in to redraw her tummy rolls, it occurred to me that I desperately need practice drawing thick characters. I tried my best, but unfortunately I don't think she ended up as thick as some people would have preferred. I'm giving myself a pass on this though, since an in-between weight was a close second in the votes and she definitely looks in between, if not ever so slightly on the thick side. After that, I drew her paws, claws, and paw pads, making sure that they still sold that floaty pose. And then I finished up her arms. And I've gotta say, I'm pretty proud of how her hand came out. Her pocket arm gave me a good amount of trouble for a little while, and I just couldn't figure out what seemed off about it, so I just played with the adjustments for a while until it looked good to me. And then her tail. I usually don't draw wolf tails this long, so I'd say that this definitely counts toward the long tail category. After this, I erased all the traits that I had already included so far and then continued to the others and finally connected her head to her shoulders. For her clothes, I referenced a women's leather jacket off-screen that had a zipper that ran down one side of the body, and being a fan of asymmetrical clothing, I had to do it. The jacket also had a pocket on each side, so I replicated that in my drawing, but later I changed it so that it was only one pocket. I added all the folds to the fabric in her jacket, and then I went in to add a belt. I figured that adding a belt with a buckle in the middle of her body would make it more obvious that her zipper isn't perfectly centered. At this point, I removed that second pocket in favor of adding wrinkles so that I could show her hand had pushed her jacket out of the way in order to rest in her pants pocket, which comes later. The jacket that I referenced didn't have any spike details, but I really wanted to include some on this character, so I added them to the shoulders of her jacket. While lining her hands, I decided to give her some claws. I don't usually draw claws on characters' hands, but I thought that she needed more feminine style choices, so I decided that some painted nails would look good on her. And then finally, I moved on to her pants. Originally, I was going to give her some baggy cargo style pants, but then decided to reference women's punk fashion and found some strappy pants that I really love the look of. After her first set of straps was in, I finally added her pockets and adjusted her hand to go where it needed to be. I originally thought that I'd have her thumb hanging out of her pocket, but I didn't like how that was looking, so I changed it. Now typically I don't include shoes on anthro characters, but since this one was supposed to live in a cool climate, I decided to give her boots. I have a rat OC named Ripley and she wears boots, so I opened my art of her so that I could reference the style of the boots that I drew. Unfortunately, this kind of killed that floaty effect on the character's lower foot, but ultimately I think the pose still worked out well, so I'm okay with it. After that, I went through and cleaned up the sketch of her tail, and then added her piercings. I gave her 3 hoop earrings and a stud in her tongue. Next, I needed to add her tattoo. Now, since a cool climate was selected, a lot of her skin was covered, so I didn't have a ton of options for tattoo placement. My only options being face, neck, or hand, I went with hand. I did a simple moon tattoo since it seemed fitting for a wolf character. And then it was time for her hair. Generally, for anthro characters, I tend to draw either very short hair or no hair at all, so this was new for me. I struggled a little bit trying to decide where her hair should fall, but eventually settled on an asymmetrical look with all her hair being pushed off to one side of her body. I also decided to make her hair wavy since I couldn't really decide between straight and curly. finally, I threw some colors under her sketch so that I could play with her look before beginning to line and finish the piece. I outlined the whole thing in a silhouette and then threw my colors on top of that. Because of the tie between warm and warm neutral colors, I decided to use warm neutrals for the coat and warm for her hair. I thought that a nice reddish brown would look good on this character, so that's what I chose for her base color. And then I went through with a slightly darker version of that color to give her some markings on her neck, tail, ears, and fingers. I gave her rich, dark brown eyes to match her warm, neutral coat. And I then colored in all the metal pieces in her design and then went through and colored the leather. I stayed between 2 shades of black just to keep a nice, limited color palette. After that, I threw a very dark, warm color into her hair to use as her natural color and then added a nice bright red near the bottom as if she'd let her hair grow out since the last time it was dyed. Thinking she needed more red on her body, I added a little blood drop patch to her jacket and eventually added a red shirt peeking out from underneath her jacket. And then it was officially time to finish the piece. Now, while I let the line art time-lapse go, I want to talk a little bit about my channel. Ever since I created this channel, my goal was to make My Little Pony speed paints, and that was about it. I was 12 when I created this account, and 15 when I uploaded my first speed paint here. Being 21 now, I realized that my channel can't exactly survive on just the occasional MLP speed paint. I've tried my best to make and keep a schedule for myself, but I find it hard to keep the motivation to make a speed paint consistently every single week like I had tried. And even if I could keep up with a schedule like that, it seems like that's just not what my viewers want anymore. So I want to do more videos like this. I want to branch out. I want to do more art challenges and squishy videos and art books and tutorials, you name it. I don't want to be just speed paints anymore. So I decided that I'd start now by doing this challenge that I've been excited to do for quite a while now, and I hope you guys are enjoying the change as much as I am. It'll still take me a while to get on a proper schedule, but in the meantime, what I lack in schedule, I want to make up for in variety. If you're only here for my speed paints, don't worry, I'll still make them. They'll just be sprinkled in between all sorts of other art videos. And of course, I'll still do live streams of my commissions like I do for every piece that I draw. I even live streamed this piece. But all that being said, if there's a challenge or a series that you'd like me to try, please let me know. I'm ready to branch out, and I'll gladly take all the help I can get from my viewers. And now that that stuff is out of the way, enjoy the rest of the time lapse. I'll pop back in near the end to give my thoughts on the challenge. Alright, there you have it, the DeviantArt Creates My OC challenge. This was actually super fun and I really like the character that came out of it. I named her Sloane and she'll live in the same universe as the rat girl Ripley that was featured earlier in the video. I hope you guys like her as much as I do, and let me know if you want to see more. Maybe I could make an opposite version of this video and make a character using the least popular choices. Is that something you'd like to see? Let me know. Thank you guys for watching the video. Don't forget to let me know about any challenges or series that you'd like to see me do in the future, and I'll see you next time. Bye!